One of the top Red Sox prospects is going to get their first taste of Fenway Park today. Well, kind of. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbett. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. Unfortunately, we didn't get Red Sox baseball yesterday, right? The game ended up getting rained out after a super long rain delay. For me, it really stunk because I had tickets to yesterday's game. I couldn't go today, but for you guys, it was great because I ended up giving away those tickets in our community page. If you guys haven't checked that out already, I highly recommend paying attention to our community page this season. We're going to be doing a couple more giveaways throughout the year, so if you keep your eye on that, hopefully you guys will be able to win something like this guy was yesterday, in which he got tickets to today's game. But also, kind of unfortunately for the Red Sox, that meant that they couldn't play baseball yesterday. But kind of fortunately for them, that also meant one of the weird odd and end rules that MLB has had and grown over the, 100 and something years that they've been a league took place yesterday. Because today, because the Red Sox are playing a doubleheader, that means that their roster is expanded. It goes from 26 men to 27 men. Now, technically, the Red Sox are able to call up anybody they want, right? They could call up a position player, they could call up a bullpen arm, a starting pitcher. Most of the time, teams end up going with either a bullpen arm or a starting pitcher. And in this specific situation, it gave the Red Sox the opportunity to call up or promote one of their top prospects in number 12 prospect Hunter Dobbins to get his first taste of Major League Baseball. Now, what's interesting about this rule is we're not going to be able to see Hunter Dobbins in the first game that's played out this afternoon because according to Major League Baseball's rules, quote, the 27th man is only permitted to play in the regularly scheduled game that day, not the contest that was previously suspended. Yeah, it makes sense, right? I don't know. The MLB rules have been created over years and years and decades. There's always some sort of stipulation with everything that's going on here. The other stipulation is that this 27th man only plays effect in today's game, which is why I say he kind of got called up, right? Because he's going to be called up and he's probably going to make his Major League debut, but then he's pretty immediately going to be sent down back to minor league baseball. So it's a promotion for sure, but it's also not a promotion at the same time. I don't exactly know what to call it. But regardless of how long he's up here, this should still be relatively exciting for Red Sox fans because Hunter Dobbins last season showed a whole lot of potential on the bump. Between AA and AAA last year, he made 25 starts and sported a 3.08 ERA with an almost identical 3.04 FIP. Both of those absolutely fantastic numbers on the mound. One thing that was super impressive for Hunter Dobbins in 2024 was that he was fantastic at limiting hard contact, especially when it came to keeping the ball in the yard. He allowed just 2 home runs all year last year through 125 and 2/3 innings. That's a really, really good number, right? Guys had a really difficult time getting to Hunter Dobbins' stuff enough to put a ball in a seat. He also had pretty solid numbers in terms of his walk rate, just 3.44 per 9 innings. Not a ton of swing and miss. It was at 8.59, but still, that's almost a strikeout an inning, right? It was pretty solid in terms of his swing and miss, and he certainly could miss bats when he needed to. He mostly relied on his ability to generate ground balls, though, which was at 43.2% last season. That's about a ground ball and a half every time a ball was hit in the air. Basically, 1 out of every 3 balls was hit in the air against Hunter Dobbins. Now, there are a couple things that stood out with Hunter Dobbins last year. The first is that his velocity really ticked up. Between 23 and 24, he gained a couple of miles an hour on his fastball, and that started to create that more swing and miss that we were seeing. It also helped him keep the ball in the yard. If people have to respect the fastball, they have a harder time getting to his off-speed pitches, which he has a pretty decent amount of. He has 5 different off-speed offerings, which gives him a 5-pitch mix on the mound. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but it is a splinker or a splunker, whichever way you want to call it, a splitter/sinker. It is a slider, a sweeper, a curveball, and a splitter. So really, what is that? That's 5 different pitches. So really, it's a 6-pitch mix. I was missing a pitch in there, but either way, he's got a whole bunch of different things that he could throw at batters throughout the season. Some of them he uses more than others. Definitely that splinker is probably his second most used pitch along with that slider. Sweeper, curveball, splitter. The splitter was the new pitch last year. That was his go-to put-away pitch last year. So he's really sort of incorporating all of these to different degrees and really starting to make his way up Red Sox prospect rankings, because last season was a pretty big year for him. He went from the number 24 prospect in the Red Sox system, according to the best place to look for prospect news, SoxProspects.com, to the number 12 coming into this year. It was a really impressive season for Hunter Dobbins last year. It was also good enough for him to win the 2024 Red Sox Minor League Starting Pitcher of the Year award, which is something that's really, really impressive. It's one of those names where you just sort of sit there and you say, okay, so what can this guy look like in the big leagues, right? He's starting to impress in minor league baseball. What does he look like in Major League Baseball? Well, this season didn't get off to the greatest start in the entire world that I think Hunter Dobbins was expecting it to get off of. He was moved into a more long relief role in Worcester, which I think is pretty interesting, right? Because it could point to the idea that the Red Sox see this guy more long-term as a long reliever than they do a starting pitcher. But either way, in his first appearance out of the bullpen for the Worcester Red Sox, he got hit around a bit. It was 3 2/3 innings. He allowed 5 earned runs on 3 home runs, which in 3 2/3 innings is more home runs than he gave up in the entirety of last season. They were the only hits he allowed, but he also had 3 walks and a couple of Ks as well. But hey, everyone's allowed one singular bad outing, right? I don't think that's what is going to prevent Hunter Dobbins from making it to the major leagues this year, right? I think that's just sort of a bad first start to get out of the way, and you know what? We'll see how you settle down into that. But I do think it's interesting that the Red Sox moved him into the bullpen to start this season, because we talked about that coming into the year. The Red Sox have some really interesting depth piece for their rotation. We're seeing a couple of them at the major league level right now in Sean Newcomb, Richard Fitz, and in the bullpen right now, not exactly looking fantastic, is Cooper Criswell, but you also got Quinn Priester in AAA as well. So they may be sitting there saying, okay, we've got 4 options here in case things go south later on in the year. Let's see what Hunter Dobbins can look like out of the bullpen, and maybe that's where they find a spot for him at some point in the season on a more regular basis. To be honest with you, this also kind of makes it interesting to figure out how the Red Sox are going to use Hunter Dobbins in today's game, because they're certainly going to use him. They don't call this guy up as sort of a break glass in case of emergency. The glass is already broken, right? They're going to use this guy at some point in the second game of this series. The question is it going to be as a starter or is it going to be as a reliever? Because the Red Sox have already changed up who's going to be starting the first game a little bit. Yesterday it was supposed to be Richard Fitz. Today's game, at least in the second game, was supposed to be Sean Newcomb. Now Sean Newcomb's starting that first game. So the Red Sox have 2 options here. They could either bring Hunter Dobbins in as a long reliever coming out of the bullpen in the second game of this series and sort of maybe do a bullpen game in the second game, or they could have him start that second game and then pick up another long reliever that could go a couple of innings in the second game. Because Sean Newcomb realistically probably isn't going to give you 6 innings worth of work, right? He's more than likely going to be, I think at maximum, a 5 and dive type player. You've got Garrett Whitlock. You should be fine for that game. The second game gets a little bit more interesting because your only other long relief option in the bullpen is Cooper Criswell. And Cooper Criswell, like I said, hasn't exactly had the best start to 2025. Somehow, Cooper Criswell only has a single earned run in the entirety of the 2 appearances that he's pitched in. Neither of them are very long, right? It's an inning and a third in total, but he's allowed 5 hits. He hasn't struck out a single batter. He also hasn't walked anyone either. So, I don't know. He just doesn't look exactly like the dominant pitcher that we saw last year. And when I say dominant, I mostly mean just a solid number 5 starter where he had a 4.08 ERA last season, a 4.15 FIP, right? He looked pretty solid on the mound last year. This year, it doesn't exactly look like that. It's an incredibly small sample size. But it makes things interesting, right? Do you go with Sean Newcomb and Garrett Whitlock in the first game and hope that gives you enough, a full 7 innings to get to the back end of your bullpen? Or do you go Sean Newcomb, Cooper Criswell, and then save Garrett Whitlock for that second game where you start Hunter Dobbins? Or do you save Cooper Criswell to start the game tonight and then go Hunter Dobbins out of the bullpen to sort of keep him in that long relief bullpen role? It's going to be a really, really interesting decision for the Red Sox to make, and it's one of these things that you see throughout the season that just makes baseball such a unique sport, right? Normally, you'd figure out who you're getting, and it'd be perfectly set in almost every other sport. Here, it's just sort of, I don't know, right? You have no idea how this is going to work, and it's only going to be for one singular game, because after this game, they're going to have to option Hunter Dobbins back down to AAA baseball. So, an incredibly interesting situation taking place for the Red Sox. That's why this video is labeled, they're calling this guy up Kind of, right? It's kind of a call-up. It's kind of not. I don't really know where to place this, but Hunter Dobbins will be making his Major League debut this today. I'm still excited about it. I'm still excited to at least get a glimpse of what Hunter Dobbins could look like for the Boston Red Sox, because I do think at some point this season he could end up being a really important piece for a successful Red Sox run, right? The Red Sox bullpen last year was one of the things that prevented them from getting into the postseason, maybe the most prominent thing that prevented them from getting into the postseason, especially in the second half of the year where they were really towards the bottom half of the league. In order to prevent that this year, you're going to have to prevent guys from burning out. And I think guys like Dobbins, Luis Guerrero, even a guy like Brian Mata, potentially Michael Fulmer as well, that are sitting in the Red Sox farm system could be the key to preventing that Red Sox burnout, right? Getting these guys up here, being able to option some of the players in your bullpen once they do start to get a bit fatigued could really, really change this Red Sox bullpen. And I think Hunter Dobbins is going to be a huge part of that. There's a reason why the Red Sox moved him into that bullpen. They want to see what that looks like, especially in a long relief role. You only have two options for long relief in the Red Sox bullpen right now. There's a good chance that at some point you're going to need more than that. I think that's where Hunter Dobbins could come in and play a pretty major factor. So to get your first glimpse of him in sort of a game where it's like, what, you know what, whatever, right? At the end of the day, as long as you win this series, you're good to go, is going to be kind of cool, at least in my opinion, to at least get one tiny little glimpse of what he could be. Again, this isn't going to be anything long-term. It's not going to be anything that's going to totally change the Red Sox bullpen at all, but it is just a little taste of what Hunter Dobbins could look like at the Major League level. Now, in my opinion, what this means for the Red Sox is that they're going to have to score runs today, right? Between Newcomb and what he showed you in his first game, Criswell and what he's been showing you, and the fact that you don't really have a starter, at least right now, for the second game, Sox are going to need to score some runs. Luckily, they've been on a heater, so hopefully that continues. But just win this series. Get one of these games today, and you're in a really good spot going forward. We'll kind of see how this ends up, but either way, Hunter Dobbins making his Major League debut today. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think of the weird MLB rule. What do you think of Hunter Dobbins in general? Do you think he could be someone who impacts the Red Sox long-term? Is this someone that you're sitting there saying, I don't know yet. Maybe I'll see what he looks like today and change my mind? Let me know all your thoughts on the Red Sox first real kind of promotion of the 2025 season in the comments down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.